Behold, peoples, it is I, Dr. Phineas Fives, the most evil and diabolical mad scientist in all the world. No doubt you recognize me from my television series Shaggy and Scooby Doo. Get a clue? The tale of my quest to conquer the world, only to be stifled by the accursed dog and hippie boy. For I am a villain so nefarious that the government has actively covered up my existence by deleting all footage of me from YouTube. That's clearly the only explanation. Long have I pondered my revenge, and before I annihilate my enemies, I'm going to ruin their reputations. Assuming, of course, that the movie Scoob did not do that already. So with that in mind, I present to you one of their greatest failures, Scooby Doo Classic Clip Capers on the Nintendo 64. Who designed this controller? It looks like it was made for the 300 mutant people I made for my doctoral thesis.
The game begins with Shaggy and Scooby walking down a street when they come across a deserted truck with a missing driver. They find an invoice for a Mr. R. Necros because the name Douchebag Von Sealclubber, I assume, was taken. The truck belongs to a history museum, so they meet with the rest of the gang to check it out, only for the curator of the museum to shoo them away because a Black Knight armor has spontaneously come to life and is haunting the museum. So the gang decides to investigate. I know this is more real-world nuance than you expect out of Scooby Doo, but nobody at the museum actually hired them to investigate the Black Knight or invited them in. The gang is totally breaking and entering here.
Perfect! With this evidence, I can get your dog and hippie boy incarcerated and... Alright. Game's 20 years old. Statute of limitations is up.
The trespassing becomes a problem right away as there's a guard on the top floor who tosses you out if he catches you, but luckily he doesn't seem to react to spotting Scooby. I guess a Great Dane loose in the museum after hours, sharpening his claws on priceless paintings and peeing on irreplaceable antiques is nothing to worry about. I actually got stuck on this top floor for a good while because I swear trying to operate this elevator didn't work the first time. You play as Shaggy, with Scooby following you around as an AI partner who does absolutely nothing. You walk around collecting items that are very helpfully labeled by glowing and shimmering. Some of the items are clues, some of them are used to solve puzzles, and some of them are pieces of a trap you need to catch the villain, all of which I guess Shaggy just psychically intuits that he needs to finish the level. Yeah, I'm not stealing this Egyptian headdress, man. I need it to hide in the Egyptian exhibit that I don't know exists yet. Using the word puzzle to describe the game might be a bit generous though, because this first level where you need to get caught by the guard and then run into a room so he slips on water and drops his keys, that is, no joke, the deepest and most complex puzzle in the game by a pretty vast margin, and I solved it right away on pure accident. There are a few minor objectives you need to complete too, like in this level, finding a door for Fred, Velma, and Daphne to get into the museum because they're too good to use the ladder, rescuing Velma when she immediately gets kidnapped, and coming back with Velma's glasses because she won't deign to be rescued without them. Most of the rooms are littered with obstacles that drain your health, like spiders, rats, bats, giant animatronic dinosaurs that the museum apparently leaves running all night, racking up the electric bill and putting loads of extraneous wear and tear on the equipment. If you need to refill your health, there's a kitchen in every level except the last where you can play a minigame catching food. So, you know, breaking into the museum and assaulting and robbing a guard wasn't bad enough. Now you're stealing all their food and leaving an unholy mess for the janitor. The kiss of death with this game is that the controls are horrible. The game runs on fixed cameras a la Resident Evil, with the camera radically switching angles on you multiple times just crossing a single room. Every single room. Say you're walking to the right and the camera shifts about 90 degrees. You can either continue holding right to now move down, or you can release the control stick to reset the controls to where you actually move where you push, and this happens every few seconds. And sometimes the game glitches, forgets to change cameras, and leaves you wandering around off-screen with no clue what's going on. I think Shaggy's trying to escape the game while he still can. But the most infuriating thing, and I couldn't make this up if I tried, you have absolutely zero control over how fast Shaggy walks. You push the control stick all the way over, it's completely random chance whether Shaggy will run or just leisurely stroll around. You have no control over his speed. It doesn't sound that bad, but in a game that's mostly walking through big empty environments where the character will insist on moving at a crawl on his own whim, it quickly becomes infuriating. He won't even reliably run if he's being chased by the main villain, which happens at least twice a level.
Run away, you imbecile!
Oh, and I wasn't kidding earlier when I said that Scooby doesn't do a single thing to help you, but he sure gets in your way all the time, blocking up hallways, obstructing your path since you can't run through them, and sometimes even pushing you into hazards, like the 3 times I took the elevator only for Scooby to push me right back in. So it's kinda nice that Scooby often, and I mean often, gets stuck in walls to where you have some peace to yourself. So most of the actual gameplay of this game is navigating through obstacle courses with crippled controls and an abysmal camera. The only thing that keeps the game playable is that you can't actually die. Running out of health, or it's actually courage, just makes Shaggy run away and you start at a vague checkpoint, usually the last time that you exited a room.
So I can't even act out revenge on my enemies by steering them to their doom? Then what is the point of this game?
Even getting caught by the security guard in this first level just makes him dump you back outside with a warning, even if he catches you 20 times because it's often physically impossible to avoid him. So I save Velma, I collect all the items, I give them to Fred, but Fred tells me that I'm still missing a clue. After caving and looking up a walkthrough, I found out the last item is a paintbrush, which I missed because the one doorway that leads to the paintbrush is pretty much invisible from the awful cameras. Seriously, you can't even tell that there's any pathway back there. At the end of each level, the gang constructs a trap that requires you to find the villain and then lure him into an ambush by running through the most obnoxious obstacle course in the stage. And of course I died several times on this part because Shaggy kept refusing to actually run away from the Black Knight. Although the knight does just go a-bloogie woogie woo if he catches you, since running his enemies through with a broadsword would probably draw hellfire from Hanna-Barbera. Well, gee, there are only 2 people at this museum and the security guard has an alibi, so I wonder who could possibly— Yep, it's the curator. He's been using the Black Knight to scare people away from his painting forgery operation. Boy, it's a good thing this guy told the mystery gang about his own haunted museum, or else they might never have foiled him. Ah, but the gang's success angers a glowy green inverse-colored head. Sir Evil Von Bad Guy, I presume. The second level, the gang is hired to investigate a skiing lodge that's being haunted by a snow ghost. I'd have named him the Abominable Snowman so it'd be less awkward to say, but that wouldn't let us have a pun in the episode title, now would it? This level is stupid easy. You're in a lodge with 4 rooms, you enter to grab items, presumably breaking into other guests' rooms to rifle through their belongings, and then you're tossed outside to go inside a few buildings picking up items. That's it.
Gee, will steering the hippie boy into the varying saw blades actually injure him or simply compel him to scream "Zoinks!" again? Blast!
There are 2 separate parts of this level where you have to navigate a maze with garbage cameras zoomed in and constantly shifting positions, so it's impossible to keep your bearings. Look at this! How are you supposed to cross this? But the biggest pain of this level is a skiing minigame with super stiff controls so you can barely steer, and a backwards camera angle so you can barely spot obstacles in advance. And you have to run this course twice, the second time with the snow ghost in pursuit. I hate to keep harping on this, but the cameras and controls keep finding new ways to suck! It turns out there's a set of caves with the Chinese temple complete with racial stereotype man watching over it, and the snow ghost is the keeper of the lodge stealing the artifacts. Yes, the innkeeper is the true identity of the snow ghost. The same innkeeper who hired the mystery gang hired them to investigate himself. Brilliant! Oh, and the smuggling is also part of Necros' plan because this evil mastermind has a knack for attracting really stupid henchmen. Level 3, the Mystery Gang is on vacation on a tropical island when they're attacked by the Witch Doctor. The level itself is pretty simple, just a few puzzles to keep opening doorways further into the level. The problem is this level is massive and so pointlessly padded out with empty space that it takes forever and a half to get anywhere or do anything. And again, you'll notice I said the word puzzles, and that might have been misleading. It's just two combinations that you get from a parrot at the start of the level, and I hope you wrote them down because otherwise you have to backtrack several minutes to see the parrot again. There's barely even any items in this level and only one clue, plus weird coins of Yogi Bear and the Great Kazoo that, near as I can tell, do absolutely nothing. In fact, Hanna-Barbera's lesser characters make tons of cameos as art pieces throughout the game, because by the year 2000, Scooby Doo was pretty much the only relevant one left. The level ends with you needing to navigate a dark maze of tons of screens that look identical with a camera that switches at random every few steps, and again, you need to cross it about 5 times. Rescue Daphne, leave to get key, come back to finish rescuing Daphne, leave to find Witch Doctor, back again to lure the Witch Doctor into a trap. Was the dev team really so bankrupt for ideas that they had to cram these awful mazes into every level but the first? Nobody saw a problem with this?
And of course, spending several minutes in an underground volcanic cave doesn't annihilate the dog or hippie boy from ash inhalation or boiling alive. I gotta have nice things.
Oh, and go figure the Witch Doctor is smuggling pearls for Necros' operation, with a heavy implication that Necros sent the Mystery Gang directly into one of his own operations to bust. Well, Necros finally realizes that if you want something done right, you need to do it yourself, so he runs around abducting the gang one by one. Velma at the library, Daphne at a clothing sale, Fred at a diner, and Scooby and Shaggy with a trail of Scooby snacks leading into a huge ominous van that they climb inside without question.
What did that? That's all it takes to trap the dog with hippie boy? I'm too smart to think of something so stupid.
Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy.
Check it out, Necros has a missing poster of Shaggy hung mere seconds after capturing him. Dude's efficient, if nothing else. Of course, this is a G-rated series, so rather than just execute his sworn enemies on the spot, Necros takes the gang to his castle fortress, with Shaggy and Scooby in a completely unlocked cell with no guards, and he was kind enough to line the halls with Scooby Snack healing items. Aside from a third, completely incomprehensible maze of identical hallways, this final level is still super easy since each item basically spells out directly where to go next, rescuing the gang, collecting the villain mask, repairing the drawbridge, and reenacting the classic Scooby Doo getting chased through the halls montage.
Scooby Doo, where are you? Raggy!
And holy cow, there are giant tentacles coming out of the moat around Necros' lair. Dude owns a friggin' kraken, and one of Necros' guest rooms has a little shop of horrors monster in it. And it's not a robot or puppet either. You get past it by using a music box to lull it to sleep. I owe a serious apology to Necros. Dude's genetically engineering Lovecraftian horrors. So I get to the end of the level only for Fred to tell me that I'm missing a clue. Turns out I still need a set of Tibetan wind chimes that seems to have absolutely nothing to do with anything, yet is critical to finishing the game. And I had to look this up because you want to know where the chimes are hidden? Completely invisible behind this gear! What? I mean, sure, if you're paying really close attention, you can kinda see it when you start climbing the clock tower on this first screen, but that's it. I could have searched for weeks and never found this. So you set another trap and you catch Rex Necros, a guy nobody in the gang knows, but apparently learned about from a newspaper that you picked up. Turns out Necros is the head of a national crime ring, and that's it. So if Necros is a common criminal and not a mad scientist spitting on the laws of nature, why the heck does he have a pet Loch Ness monster and a Lazarus pit in his basement? Were they just there already when he moved into the spooky old castle?
Speaking of, it is quite a lovely and freshly vacated evil lair. I wonder what you feed krakens.
Classic Creep Capers is just wretched. I get that it's a game meant for kids between the subject matter, the super simple puzzles, and the lack of dying, but the game is a glorified walking simulator with nothing added to cover the lack of gameplay. All you do is walk around collecting items with awful controls and a camera that hates your guts, and their only idea for actual content and gameplay was some infuriating mazes and obstacle courses. If you're a fan of Scooby Doo, you may get a nostalgic kick out of the game replicating several of the series' classic tropes, but you just don't do anything in it.
And I'm not saying the game would be better if it had a more compelling, more ambitious villain such as myself, but I doubt even the game's programmers remember the name Rex Nikros. But you will never forget the day you heard the name of Dr. Phineas Hives. That's for making me immortal! I swallowed my meat.